to everyone. I'm glad that you could come out this evening to be able to hear what's going on in the city. I'm going to present to you the proposed FY25 budget for the upcoming year, and it's called Navigating Challenges, Investing in Our Future. As I stated, this is just a proposed budget. It still has to go before the council. They will vet it and they will determine how they want funds to be allocated for the upcoming year. The way that we're going to flow through this particular budget overview is that I have no problem with you all asking questions as I am presenting. We also have another microphone to make sure that the citizens that are at home can hear exactly what's going on. That mic will be manned tonight by Vanna White, also known as Lee Allison, the city clerk for the city of Irondale. We ask that you would use it to make sure we can hear you in the room, but people may not hear you outside of the room. We're going to go through this presentation, hopefully I've allotted an hour for the presentation. If you all have questions that you want to ask after the presentation, feel free to be able to do that. I'll stick around as long as people are asking questions. But to be a good steward of your time, I would say that at 7:30, this part will be through. And anybody, like I said, that want additional information can feel free to be able to stay and to be able to ask those questions. Before I get started tonight, I would like to open this up in a word of prayer, and then we will proceed with the slideshow. Oh, gracious God, we thank you for this night. My prayer is that everyone that's within the sound of my voice is here to receive sound information, that their ears will be open, that their eyes will be able to see. I ask that you give me the ability to be able to speak the truth and only to speak your truth. We realize that the city of Irondale is a great place to live. We have a lot of wonderful things that are going on. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to serve your people. Now I ask through you that your spirit will lead and guide in all that we do, and that at the end of the day, you will still be glorified. For these things I offer up in your son's name. Amen. First slide that we're going to start with tonight is budget highlights. And what I wanted to be able to cover on this slide is just to give you a high-level overview of what you could expect that we're going to receive in revenue for the year. And that's projected to be $36,928,700. The total expenses, which includes salaries, bond debt, leases, office supplies, miscellaneous, you name it, for the entire city, is in the amount of $33,914.08 for a projected surplus of $3,014,692. The only thing that I would like to say about these line items, and I've been forecasting the budget like this for quite some time, we are very conservative on the revenues. We may end up with more than $36,928,000, but it's easier to come down than it is to go up. And the more money that we have in revenue, that allows us to be able to have a bigger surplus, which allows us to be able to put more money in reserve and to be able to do some of the projects in the city with being able to spend cash. So the philosophy here is conservative revenue estimates, but very aggressive on expenses. As I stated, it's easier for me to put more in the expenses and come in for it to be lower than for me to make it lower and then have to come back to be able to ask for more funds. That's the big picture as we move into FY25, is a surplus or a projected surplus of $3,014,692. I wanted to be able to give you a breakdown of the revenue in the city. I'm sorry.
Sorry, slide one, I already have a question.
Okay. Can you wait? And Vanna, can you take the microphone?
Hi, just a quick question. The expenses, does that include the 4% raise that was just recently passed?
It includes the 4% raise for the employees. It includes the 4% increase in health costs. It includes the lease payments for the first year, paying the public building authority for the buildings that we're building in the city as well. Here's a breakdown of our revenue here. You can see that the category that brings in the most money for the city is sales and use tax. This year, we're projecting to have almost $20 million to come in sales and use tax. This will be the highest amount that I know to ever to be able to come into the city of Irondale. And we're expecting our sales and use tax to grow by 5%. When you look at the makeup of how we generate the revenue to be able to come into the city, you may see that it may not be the way that people have shared the information, because for some reason, because I'm a taxpayer, I'm the one that pays you all salary, and my taxes is the one that makes the city go. Well, as you can see, ad valorem tax only make up 11.64 of the revenue that comes into the city. Occupational license fee is around 8.94. Business license is $2,900,000, and you can see that the percentage of it is 7.85. And other miscellaneous revenue makes up the remainder, for a percentage of 17.68% in the amount of $6,528,700. And as I stated, we're looking for a 5% expected increase in sales tax. I don't know if you call it a blessing or a curse, but when Maserati, Alfa Romeo, and Fiat decided, or the dealership decided to turn those back to the manufacturer, you would have thought that we would have a significant reduction in the revenue that's coming into the city. However, I've learned that Subarus generate a lot of income. Subarus is one of the top selling brands. People are brand loyal. The average cost of a Subaru is between $40,000 to $60,000. They're looking towards selling over 200 units of Subarus per month and about 200 units of used cars, which is equivalent to 400 units of cars per month, which calculates out on an annual basis to $4,800, close to $5,000 a year. They're projecting to sell somewhere in the range of $45 to $50 million a year. You multiply that by 2%, and it'll give you a pretty nice idea of what we're going to be adding just from that one store there. And every day I go to Publix because my car has a sensor built into it that as soon as I get to that light, I'm supposed to go in there and buy something. We project that they're going to be selling even more once they really get to people to knowing that it's there and coming on a regular basis. Those are the 5 highest categories of revenue that we have coming into the city. Are there any questions about the revenue streams for the city of Irondale. I'll move on to our next slide. What are the revenue challenges? And we do have revenue challenges because we have a reduction in revenue of over $2.5 million. There was a request to be able to reduce the occupational license fee, which means that the city is going to be without $1 million in revenue because of that reduction. Also, when I had that, I was thinking like a genius to have that idea to be able to increase the business tax. Well, going back to what the old rate is, we're also going to give up another additional $1.5 million, which is going to be a decrease in the business privilege tax. Hopefully that will be offset by an increase in property taxes. But please don't run out of here and I said that we were going to increase property tax. Number one, it takes an election to be able to do that. So we can't just arbitrarily increase it. But I've shared with you on several occasions that the values for homes in the city of Irondale has appreciated by 60% in a 5-year period, which means that we have the highest appreciation rate in Jefferson County, second to none. Mountain Brook, Vestavia, Hoover, Trustville, you name it. Irondale is number one in that category. And we hope because we just have a natural increase in property tax and the value that it would also generate and bring more money into the city. The expense breakdown. Josh is getting ready to go hide on this one. He was standing in the door, but as you can see, based on how we break the expenses down here, is that the fire department is our biggest expense that we have out of all of the departments, and it takes up 24.75% of our overall budget, or you could just round it off and say 25%. Coming in second is the admin department, but it's not because it's being spent on salaries or a bunch of administration stuff, but everything else that we can't put in another department, we put it in the admin department. When you think about the rebate that the city has to pay Mercedes every year, this year is going to be around $1.2 million. Well, that rebate is calculated in the admin department. When you think about the insurance that we have to pay for the entire city, that comes out of the administrative department. When you think about workers' comp, attorney fees, all of those large fees that no other department wants to claim comes out of the admin budget, which means that it's around 21% of the total budget that we have here. And then coming in number 3 is debt service, which is about 17% of the total budget that we have here at the city, coming in at an amount of around $5,847,749. I know Jason is sitting back there in the back, and he probably want a little bit more for the police department, but they come in fourth. And then our beloved Public Works that does a lot of the heavy lifting, keeps your city beautiful. They're always there doing inclement weather, come in 5, and then the rest of our departments equal up to about 10.14%. So this is a breakdown of our expenses, and I wanted to let everybody know to be able to see how the money is being spent in the city of Irondale, and most of it goes through these 5 departments. Employee benefits, Kathy just asked me about, and I did get it right, Kathy. She just asked me about how does the salary increases for the employees and health insurance play out in the city. Well, the 4% helps our employees to stay 1% in front of inflation. We use the CPI Urban Index to be able to determine what should be the salary increase for our employees As of July the 31st, it was 2.9%, and we added another 1% at least to be able to keep them in front of inflation. I just received the information from the state because we're a part of LGIP, which is local government for all governmental entities in the state is a part of this insurance fund. And I hate to tell the employees, but they really got gypped by 0.75% because the letter said that the increase this year was going to be 4.75, and we only increased their health insurance contributions by 4%. However, we are proud to say that we pay 94% of the insurance premiums for our employees. Even if you work here and have a family, I don't even think you pay $100 for family coverage. I don't think that you can find that in a lot of other municipalities. I don't care how you go around and who you want to pull up to be able to put them in a comparison, but I would be willing to put the benefits and the salaries for the city of Irondale employees up against every municipality in Jefferson County because we happen to be number 2. There's only one municipality that's in front of us, and you all know who that is. But at some point, someday, we may catch them, but they pay $1 per hour more than what we pay here at the city. And it's very hard to be able to catch up with those minimal amount of increases that we're giving our employees. But what is the purpose? The purpose is to be able to keep up with inflation and the rising health care costs. At the city of Irondale, I am proud to say that we take care 180 individuals, and I'm very proud of the way that we do it. Debt overview. This is the breakdown for the debt in the city of Irondale for FY25. The total amount, $5,847,749. Now, debt is broken down in 3 ways. You have your principal, you have your interest, and you have your lease payments that we have to make to the PBA for the 8 wonderful structures that we are building here in the city of Irondale. When I put all of those numbers together, the aggregate amount is $5,847,749, and that is 18% of the projected revenue that is coming into the city. If I think about some of the benchmarks that I've seen, especially through the GFOA, which is the Governmental Finance Accounting Group, or they're the group that if you want solid financial information, if you want information that deals with the governmental entities, they have a ton of information on treasury management, debt service, benefits, you name it. I know one of the things that I want to go through this year, I believe that is very important from the city, that we build a 5-year capital plan, and that we also build a 5-year financial plan. And that plan is broken down into increments of 1, 3, and 5 years. So that whoever is here running the city during that time, they will have a plan of operation that has already been put in place. They'll walk through the door, they'll know the condition of the city, and they can just pick it up and keep it moving. Any questions about this slide? Miss Mary? Vanna? She's coming. Give her a little time. I'm going to take a water break while she's walking to give you the microphone.
I was just wondering, the lease payments, those don't include the lease payments for like the equipment that was purchased. I think we bought some trucks and some cars and some things, and they were leased. But that's not these. It's not this lease, it's right?
No, this is the lease payment that goes to the Public Building Authority.
Okay.
The lease payment for the vehicles and all the equipment and things that we purchase, that falls up under the departments as an expense. Thank you, Vanna. So, people think a lot of times when you present finances that you're only going to talk about the good stuff. But then I learned that if you only talk about the good stuff, they'll take the good stuff and won't talk about the good stuff, but then they'll create their own bad stuff. I decided tonight that I would do my own SWAT analysis. I'm not going to leave it up to Facebook to determine what's the strength and the weaknesses of the city. I'm going to present them to you myself, which means while you are here, you can ask me. You don't have to put it out there and maybe dream or hope that I'm going to be out there because I'm not out there. So I hate to disappoint you all, but if you really want to ask me something, is Marcy here? No, Marcy's not here. Call Marcy. She'll set up an appointment with you. So what are the strengths? The strengths are we take a very conservative budget approach. I've already talked about that. We're projecting a budget surplus of $3,014,000 and some change, and we invest in our employees. What is some of the weaknesses that we have here at the city? We have a high dependency on sales tax. As I presented the revenue streams to you, 55% of the revenue that comes into the city comes through you spending your money or other people coming into the city to be able to spend their money. The automotive industry creates about $9 million out of the $19 million that I talked to you all about when we were going through the revenue. So when you say, why did you come up with this great idea to be able to spend $570,000 to promote the automotive industry? That's why we did it, because it generates the most revenue that comes into the city. So I'm going to ask you all the question. If you had the opportunity to be able to invest money, would you invest it in a place where you could not get a rate of return, or you would put it in a place where it can grow and give you additional funds to be able to provide more efficient and effective services to your citizens at a low cost? Everybody don't have to shout. You don't have to shout at the same time, but I know the answer and you know the answer too. You would never invest in something where you would have a negative rate of return. That's not a very astute investor to spend money on something that you know you're going to lose money if you put it there. And because I made a promise to you all, and that promise was we would not increase taxes or fees in FY24, and we would not do it in 25. But if I'm here in 26, I'm coming back. But strengths and weaknesses. But even when you have strengths and weaknesses, it creates opportunities as well as you have some threats that goes along with it. So what are the opportunities and what are the threats that we have? Opportunities. We expect for property tax to increase, not because we're increasing the rate, just because we're in a wonderful economy and because the values of homes are appreciating in the city of Irondale. And we hope to be able to take advantage of that. Potential for economic growth due to business-friendly tax changes. Going back to the old rate instead of using the new rate. We are hoping to be able to generate and bring new businesses into the city. I would say in FY25, we've probably had 24 to 26 new brick and mortars businesses to come into the city. I don't have that list with me, nor did I put it in a slide, but I don't have a problem in providing that information. Also, we want to make sure that we relocate funds for capital improvements. And my idea for capital improvements in the city is roads. I never knew in my wildest dreams how much people love to have pretty roads in front of their house. Hopefully we can continue to be able to do that. I'm projecting that we will spend approximately about $2 million in roads for the upcoming year. We shared what the road plan would be at the last city council meeting because we adopted a resolution for Rebuild Alabama, which makes us state what we're going to work on for the upcoming year. And our focus is going to be downtown Irondale and Holiday Gardens. What are some of the threats that we have going on? Well, one of the threats is we don't know who's going to be the president, but we will find out on November the 5th. And based on the election, if it's a Democrat or a Republican, history has shown that certain things happen or happens when one or the other is in office. Though that is one of the uncertainties we're working through, but as I stated on November the 5th, that will all be figured out. And the last thing is inflation and rising costs. Although inflation on last week was reported to be below 3%, which means that it is coming down, which should help with rising costs in the places of food and also in gas. I would say to you all, even though rates have gone up in certain places, Kim and I was in Philadelphia at the end of July. And a gallon of gas, unleaded, was $5. $5 for 1 gallon. And I had just left here because we did a road trip and I went to the Shell, got the same gas for $2.89, which I shared with everybody. I'm not leaving the South. I'm not going. I like to go visit, but as far as the quality of life and how much you have to pay to be able to sustain that life, I'm going to be right here in the city of Irondale until God takes me home. The American Rescue Plan, I do want to be able to cover this because there was some disinformation, misinformation about why we were using these funds to be able to do what we decided to do. If I can remind you of when we received our first infusion of funds from Jefferson County, we had on there that we wanted to do some equipment purchases and things for our departments. But once we sent that to the county denied it because it did not fall within the criteria to be able to purchase those things. And the county shared with us, well, what you can do that is approved is to go ahead and use those funds for salaries. And the money that you're going to use for salaries, you now have the flexibility to be able to use those funds wherever you want to be able to use them. That's why I encouraged our council to be able to adopt a resolution to allow us to be able to use those funds for employee salaries. We now have $2.3 million that we can use for anything that the council decides they want to use it on. 3 of my recommendations that I hope that we could use some of the funds on are, as I stated, roads is a top priority. Number 2 is the park master plan, and we should be coming to you within a month to be able to present the master plan to you that covers all of the parks in the city of Irondale. And 3rd is Highway 78 Crestwood Boulevard, which is the living room to the city of Irondale. I believe I shared this at the council meeting, but I'm also working with our grant writers to be able to secure $1.2 million to do some improvements on Highway 78. We also hope once we build our new admin building there, that it will also spur growth as well. The long-term impact, improving the city infrastructure while maintaining a workforce stability. So that's the vision that I have, and I'll share this with the council. But as we know, they are over the money. They're the ones that determine where it goes. The only thing I do is implement a plan to carry out their vision. Once they give me their vision, then I'll run with their vision. Serge? Oh, Vanna? Vanna, I don't have to fire you.
I'm not familiar with the like way the funds are spent, but is there an expiration date for when the funds have to be spent?
I think they have to be allocated by. Okay, so you all tell me, is it December 24 or is it December 25?
December 31st, 2024 is the deadline for allocating the funds. And then December 31st of 2026 is when they need to be spent.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Cuellar.
Thank you.
The monies that are coming in from the American Rescue Plan, and I did ask my councilman, is that going to increase our excess for the year? So we don't have it yet, but when that money does come to us, won't that increase this excess?
No, the money been here since 22.
Oh, it's here.
The
So it's
money's
in
out.
this.
The money's been here. The money was here when early part of COVID. So we've had the money since 22.
We
So
just
we
couldn't
would
spend it.
not add that money again as revenue because it's not revenue in 25.
Okay, thank you.
Investing in the future of Irondale. I don't think I need to go through a lot with this. For the last 2 months, we've been talking a lot about the 8 generational projects that we're bringing into the city. Why do I call them generational projects? Because the projects in the building is going to be here for 30 years. So the question that I ask you tonight, should everybody in year 1 bear the cost for everybody that's going to get the enjoyment 29 years from now? That's why I named them 8 generational projects, because the cost of the projects should be spread out over the lifetime of the projects and not paid in the first year, exhausting all of your cash to do it. And then you have another emergency, and now you have nothing to fall back on because you've used all your money to be able to pay down debt. And I will give a class at a further date to help everybody to understand that municipal debt is not like the debt you have on your house. It's not like the debt that you have on your car. Because when you sell these bondholders are expecting to get interest based on the lifetime of the bond, which means you can't pay off municipal debt early, even if you had all the money to do it. But you can do something that is called defeasing the bonds, which means now you have to take that hard-earned cash. You have to get someone to put out bids for banks to be able to provide the highest interest rate for that money. Then you have to put it in a fund to generate enough money to still continue paying the debt. You can't pay it off early. If you got a 10-year bond, you got a 10-year bond. You can't just say in year 1, well, I'm going to go ahead and pay it off. It doesn't work that way. But I'm looking forward to being able to provide a class. It's called 101 on municipal debt. For all that is hungry and bored enough to want to come down here to be able to hear me discuss that. But $60 million, the total projected costs for the projects are $64.1 million. Therefore, there is a problem between 64 and 60. How do you make up the difference, Mayor? Well, we're currently looking at some very safe investment strategies that if we time the withdrawals as we are pulling the funds down to build the buildings, we should earn somewhere in the neighborhood of $4.1 million over the time that it takes us to construct all of these buildings to be able to make up for that difference. And the timeline to complete everything is with 30 months. So in 30 months, we should have 8 new facilities here in the city of Irvingdale. That's a picture of the brand new library. As you can see, we had a groundbreaking probably a couple of months ago. This is a sketch of what it should look like. And if you have been in the vicinity of Grants Mill Road, this is what it currently looks like. I want to thank Dale and Tamara, especially Dale, for hanging in here with us for 45 years to work in the library. And she's now here to be able to see the new facility. I asked Dale the other day, because I went to a library meeting and I hadn't been in office that long, which means I hadn't built up a lot of political capital at that time. And I walked into their meeting and I said, we're going to build a new library. And everybody kind of looked at me and I said, Dale, did you believe me when I walked in that day and said that we were going to build a brand new library? She said, Mayor, I actually believed that we were going to build a brand new library. And the rest is history. I don't have to say anything else about it. You can see it every day as you ride down Grants Mill Road. This is the new Atmin Building. We're still making a few more adjustments before we present it to the public, but we currently own the old furniture building, Regents Building, and the building that's behind it. This building is going to house the water department, admin department, police department, inspections, and courts. Dana almost left you out of the mix, but you all may not be excited about it, but the employees are very excited about having the chance to be able to move into a new facility. And I think I mentioned it the other night. A lot of the stuff that we're doing is stuff that the city wanted to do 20 years ago. But for some reason, they were not able to be able to pull it off. And I'm so grateful that I work with a great staff, citizens that are wonderful, that you all believed in us, that we could be able to pull off something that is monumental as the things that we're currently doing now. But that's a sneak peek at the Atmin Building. I've kind of talked about the strategic financial approach. The only thing that I will mention that I didn't talk about earlier, I think you all may have heard my story, that when we got ready to go to the market on a Friday morning, I received a call from the underwriter to let me know that we had a bad jobs report. And I asked him, what does that mean in the bond market? And he said that it meant that it was a good time to continue to move on with what we were doing. I told him, well, let's put the pedal to the metal. We said that we were going to sell them on August the 6th on a Tuesday. Let's go ahead and do that. We proceeded. And because we were, I'm not going to say smart enough to be able to do it, but we were at least bold enough to be able to move forward, we saved the city over $7 million on that bond issue in 3 days just because of the fluctuation and the instability that was going on in the market at that time. I want to give a shout out to Raymond James. They were our underwriter. Bradley was our bond counsel, and Terminus was our municipal financial advisors. Lee also worked on the deal. I worked on the deal. And also, I would like to thank Wallace Jordan. And most of all, this would have never happened if we did not have counselors that saw the same vision and decided to vote on a Tuesday to approve it, but it didn't take place. But Joy comes in the morning. And it got adopted on Wednesday morning, August the 7th. And we closed last Thursday, which was a good thing because it showcases fiscal responsibility and innovative thinking. And I didn't bring that list with me, but hopefully I can remember a few of these things off of the top of my head. I know at the present time we have $13 million in reserve. We have $4 million in the operating and management fund for the water department, which means that if we don't charge you $1 for an entire year, we will still have enough money to be able to run the water department because there's $4 million that is over there. I'm trying to think of another place. General fund is around $3.7 million there. Courts is close to about $700,000. We have another million or so in roads. There are 4 funds that make up the amount of money that we have for roads, and that's 4 cents, 5 cents, 7 cents, and 10. Overall, in restricted and unrestricted funds, we have a balance of $27.8 million when I walked out of the office to come here tonight at 6 o'clock. I would say for a city our size, we're doing pretty well. Therefore, you all heard it from me. Is the city broke? No. Has the city ever been broke? No. But it seems like a very convenient theme because when you're selling fear, you also sell that people are broke. But this may not be the best English that I can use tonight, but I will say this: we ain't broke. And I'm willing to stand behind it. I'm willing to put my James Douglas Stewart Jr. name behind it, that I can back up everything that I've talked to you about tonight. And I can sit down and break it down to you if that's what you want to do. We're going to cover a few of the projects, a few of the highlights of the project. I never knew how much people love playgrounds. I guess because my kids are old. My kids are older, 25 and 30. I'm out of that playground group. I was traveling the week that Emma put that picture out. And I called Kim and we were talking on the phone. And I asked her, what was going on. And she was telling me that everybody was ranting and raving about the playground. And I said, well, why are people talking about the playground? Because it's not about the playground. It's about the baseball fields. She said, well, people ain't talking about the baseball fields. They talking about the playgrounds. I said, well, they need to talk about the baseball fields because the playground only costs $360,000. The baseball field costs about 7.6. And she said, no, they're talking about the playgrounds. And moms started to chime in. And before we knew it, what I've learned is this, and this may be news to you all, and I hate to disappoint you tonight, but I'm not the brightest bulb in the bunch. I'm usually operating at a 40 watts, but I'm working with a group of people that around the 100-watt area. So my idea was, Frank and I did the very best we could do. I mean, don't send me in to choose playground equipment if I ain't learned anything else. But we were just doing the best we can with what the good Lord had given to us. And then we decided why not bring in the experts who know how to do it and to recruit young ladies that know how to make sure that it's inclusive and that it includes everyone. And I want to thank Kay Mickle, especially in her time of retirement, to being a part of that committee, and Kim is a part of it, and there are 3 other mothers that are a part of it. I didn't pick them. They picked themselves. You ever go to church sometimes, or you remember back in the day, you go to church and you go to the pastor and you have a great idea that you want to do something, or you want the church to implement something, and the pastor usually listens to you, and then once you get through, he said, okay, well, you go ahead and do that. That's how I worked on this deal right here. I said, well, hey, you all go ahead and do it. Let me get out of the way. And this is what I shared with our staff this morning or yesterday morning. All of these days are starting to run together. Seem like I live here instead of just being here part-time. But I was coming here yesterday morning because we have Bible study at 6 o'clock on Tuesdays for any employee that want to show up. It's not on the clock, so don't run out of here and say the mayor having prayer study on the clock. Don't run out of here and say I'm forcing people to show up, because I don't. But I saw that there was a need to be able to provide it for the employees. And as I was coming down Grants Mill Road yesterday, or Monday, Tuesday morning, and you know that when you get to the traffic light, it's 3 lanes. It's a lane to go right to get on the interstate. There's a lane to go left to turn on Crestwood Boulevard. And there's a lane that brings you directly to City Hall. And I could hear a small, still voice say, stay in the middle lane. Don't try to go to the right. Don't try to go to the left. You stay in the middle. You do what you're designed to do. You let everybody else do what they are designed to do, and you'll have a very happy place. And I believe that we have a happy place. Correct, workers? Are you all happy, or are you all sad? Are you all happy, or are you all sad? They happy. See how happy they are? I can barely get them to say that they're happy. But we want to make sure that we do the playgrounds and whatever to be able to enhance the quality of life for everybody. If you haven't been out to the baseball fields, this was a rendering of what it would look like. And this is the actual construction that is going on as we speak. This is where the concession stand is going to be, the bathrooms, for the officials to be able to change. All of this is going to be housed in this building. We're eventually going to get to those 3 ball fields there. All 3 of the fields are synthetic fields, which will help with scheduling, will help with when the weather is bad. We don't have to worry about canceling games, and we just need to sit there, let the water do what it do, go into the storm drains, and we can still continue to have baseball here in the city. Not only do we want to have it for our kids, but we also want to be able to reach out to others. I'm really looking forward to having a travel ball tournament here, or having several travel ball tournaments here to be able to generate income for the city, but also to be able to showcase how great we are here in the city of Irondale. The dog park. The dog park is not even open, but people are going out there every day using the park. Now, if you're in the room, or if you're listening online, please wait until we open up the dog park before you all start to go out there and use it, because we don't want anything to happen to anybody, but we're excited about it. We should be able to open within a couple of months. The only thing that's left is, I know the lighting has to be put in, and there's some other little things that are on the punch list. Oh, lighting and signage. Those are 2 major things that we're waiting on. But it's going to be a wonderful dog park. I was glad that I had an opportunity to bring before the council to name one of the parks after Dr. Weber, because he's so beloved in the community. He's done a lot with animals. And I only thought that it was fitting that we would have something to memorialize him for all the work that he's done in the city. We will have a grand opening. We also will have a special program for Dr. Weber as well. We haven't decided if we're going to do both of them at the same time, but Irondale is definitely on the come up. Long-term benefits. Why do you spend money in your infrastructure? Number one, you want to make sure that that really your stuff is up to date. If you go back, study the history of Irondale, a lot of the buildings and facilities that we have that are currently still standing and people are working out of was built around the 60s, 50s, and 70s. And we know that every building doesn't have a useful life of 100 years. So we want to make sure that we are keeping up with the times as we modernize our infrastructure. We want to be able to stimulate economic growth. We have a possibility now to land several different dealerships just because people know now that the auto mall is in the city of Irondale and it's not in Birmingham, although all of the dealerships carry the Birmingham name. Within the last 2 weeks, I've had a meeting with at least 2 owners of dealerships that are considering bringing those into Irondale. The reason that they said that they wanted to come into Irondale because we said that we were what? Unique. Number 2, we're built different. Number 3, we do things big. Number 4, we're not the tail, we're the head. And number 5, we blaze trails. We don't walk other people's trails. So when people say to me, what's going on in Trussville, what's going on in Mountain Brook, what's going on in Hoover, it doesn't really matter to me because I don't live there. They got their own vision. Hoover has it. Do y'all remember back in the day when they had that slogan, Hoover has it? Everybody got their own mission and things that they are doing. And one of the things that I can say, I hosted the Eastern area mayors here on Tuesday. I went to the Jefferson County Mayors Association on Wednesday. And now everybody is approaching me, wanting to know what you all doing over there in Irondale. Why do you all have a marketing plan? Because for any business to be successful, you got to market. If you don't tell your story, who's going to tell your story? And if you don't tell your narrative the correct way, who else going to tell your narrative? Which means I appreciate when people say we do things that other people don't do. Because this has always been my theory. If I'm going to do what other people do, then I'm just going to go join the other people. Because we both don't need to be doing the same thing. And if you understand economics, the economies of scale would definitely support if you're doing what other folks do, just go join the other folks. So Irondale is not trying to be anybody other than Irondale and to stimulate growth in the city. And the last thing is creating lasting values for generations to come. This was great on, was that yesterday? Tuesday? I mean, we out doing so much stuff and cutting ribbons. Every time I look around, we cutting a ribbon, celebrating somebody coming into the city. But if this doesn't stir, did I get it right? Stir. Because she'll tell me when I get home. You know, she like keeping a list of everything that I mispronounce. So we'll be sitting around the table and be like, you did this, you did that, whatever. So best critic in the world, though. If this don't move you, then I don't know what's going to move you for 160 kids to have the opportunity to walk and to be fit and to get their thumbs away from them little things, they play around with all the time. To be able to get them outside, there's 22 book stations that allows them to go and do what we used to do all the time, read. But it was warm out there, but I didn't mind standing out there in the heat with a suit on, being hot, because my heart was warm to be able to see all the little kids, which are the future, for the city of Irondale, because, see, I'm 60 years old. I'm a senior now. I'm getting my AARP, Chris. Yeah, I'm waiting on my Medicare in 5 years. But that's the future. If we don't invest in our future, I don't know what we are willing to invest in. Anybody familiar with these facilities right here? Well, this is a fire station where you can't get the fire truck in the fire station. This is where I was getting ready to say something, Chris, but I had to hold up on it. But I'm going to just say, this is where your water comes from. And this is where all of the men in public work. Every day, this is where they come to be able to perform their duties. Now, I don't know about you. I just thought that it was very important to be able to upgrade our facilities, because how can you ask people to do things for you that you won't do for yourself? And I think I heard that the last time the tax referendum failed. How can you ask people to do something for you that you won't do for yourself? Well, this is why we are doing what we do, because we want to make sure that we're committed to efficiency. As I stated, we got a 30-month timeline to be able to complete all of the projects. Hopefully that will minimize the long-term costs. I can say, especially and I can't say what I really want to say, but I will say, Stuart Perry, again, ain't playing building that library over there. I mean, every day I go by there, I'm like, they told me 14 months, but it looked like it's going to be a little bit quicker than 14 months. But he's doing an excellent job. And also, he's in the city of Irondale. And also, he allowed me to host a town hall meeting at his facility that had standing room only there. So I want to give a shout out to Merrill for all that he's doing for the city of Irondale. Looking ahead, where do we go from here? Yes, we have some revenue challenges ahead, but that's okay. That's why we're going to develop a financial plan for the next 5 years. To be able to do that, we're going to work to recruit and to bring more like entities into the city. We're going to diversify our car industry instead of focusing only on the luxury brands. What about your Toyotas, your Fords, your Mazda? We're kind of working through a plan now to be able to identify what dealerships that are not within a 10-mile radius of the city of Irondale, so we can recruit them to be able to come here. We want to make sure that we focus on efficiency. I mean, that's why we have all of the new equipment and all of the upgrades and all of the trucks and all of the uniforms and everything that you see. We didn't just buy those things just to buy those things, but we bought those things hopefully to be able to increase the efficiency and the service that we give. We charge, $29 for garbage? $28, $29. We pick up your trash for free. We pick up your recycling for free. If we don't pick up your trash in the same day, we'll come back and pick up your trash. If you call down to City Hall and say, I need somebody to come out here and pick up my trash. Also, I guess I can say that while I'm talking about trash, you should get something in the next water bill, and it's called Trash Talks. What was it, Kim? Trash talk. Okay. And you remember when I told you all that we're going to start enforcing the rules when it comes to trash? Well, I want to say October 1st, the date is set that we will no longer pick up stuff outside your trash can. We will no longer pick up trash cans that are filled to the brim. There's more than the 95 gallons that are there. If you need to come in and get an additional can, you can. I think it's $10 extra a month, and you maybe have to pay a $75 deposit for it. But we need to be mindful of the people that work here at the city. That's a tough job. And to be able to do or to put more on them than we should put on them, we don't want to do that. We're going to leverage the ARP funds. That's why we're using them for salaries, to move them to capital, to be able to do more things. And the last thing, we want to balance fiscal responsibility with community needs. And the way that we will do that, we've done 22 and 22, we've done 33 and 23, and this year we're going to do 35 and 25. I just said that to see how the staff was going to look, because they're out there like the mayor and lost his mind. But no, our main focus is to finish the capital projects. We're going to do some things to be able to work on Crestwood Boulevard. We're going to work through our park master plan. We're also going to pave as many roads as we can. And that's pretty much what you have to look forward to here in the city. We also have a design for the roundabout. Within a couple of weeks, I'll announce what the design is, what it's going to look like. And also, I'm proud to say that we hope that it will not use any taxpayers' money. We're going to have a campaign. There's no donation that will be too small, but we want others to participate in bearing the cost of some of the things that goes on in our city. All right, that's it. 7:02. If you got any questions, Mayor James Douglas Stewart Jr., that's my email address, and that is my phone number. Anybody have any questions at this time? Tim?
What about the house taxes, property tax? Did we vote on that? Did we vote on it?
The property tax was voted on in 2022. So we don't have another property tax referendum. When I was talking about the property tax going up, I'm talking about your taxes going up because the value of your home is appreciating.
That's good.
Yeah, it's tied to the market. I agree, Tim. It's good. It's good. Anybody else have any other questions? Get a drink of water.
I just have a comment. It looks like our revenue is really flat from the budget of last year to the budget of this year, and so is the expenses, with the exception of the debt. And, I think that's to be commended. The fact that things are, I do have a total, it's not quite calculating, but I think that's to be commended, that the city's been able to, and that's just the budget from last year to the budget of what you're
Yes.
proposing. But that looks like you've done a pretty good job with you and your staff trying to hold things, recognizing that the revenue may not be increasing as budget.
Yes, this year, I've already talked to the staff. We're not going to do, everybody got all of them, I call them toys, but it's the equipment that they need to do their job. Everybody got everything that they need. All of the equipment, cars and everything has a useful life now from 5 to 10 years. We should be in pretty good shape when it comes to having to replace any capital items. Again, you mentioned about the revenue being flat, but I talked about it on one of the slides. We're also giving up $2.5 million in revenue that we had last year that we don't have this year.
And the expenses didn't really go up.
Other
than the
you all give a hand to the department heads. They do a good job of trying to keep the costs down.
I don't want my road to be fixed because I need a pretty road. When I get to my house, my car is like this. It's like driving in Six Flags. And I mean, it is atrocious getting to my home. And we've got the zigzags that have been there forever. But nobody's ever come to fix the streets.
What street do you live on?
5732 Bell Ridge Trail. And to get to my house, it's horrendous.
Where is Bell Ridge Trail? Is that off the end of Belmont?
Yeah.
Then you go,
Right at the stop sign, take a left and a right.
is that on the
Cars
right?
like this.
Is that on the right side of Brookmont?
No, it's on the left side.
The left side of Brookmont?
No, you go at the stop sign, take a left.
Take a left or you take a right?
No, you go to
So you're in Hampton Place?
Haven Hill,
Oh, you up the hill. Oh, okay, yeah, you.
your car is like this.
Well, let,
Lumps in it and everything else.
well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever reported it to the county?
Yeah,
Is their road?
I don't know. It's the county, city or whatever.
I mean, it's their road. I mean, you're, I'm just saying your Belmont belongs to the county. Okay, which one is this,
Haven Hill.
Cindy?
You turn to the right on Haven Hill.
Right there at the four-way stop sign? Where the water tank is?
No, you're gonna turn to the left.
Turn to the
Haven
left.
Hill is to the right, you're gonna turn to the left,
Okay,
and it's a dead end.
okay.
And it's just bad getting to my house. You should see the cars. Everybody's zigzagging to get away from the lumps and the bumps. All
Yes, how many cars is on that street? How many cars on that street? What is a
I
lot?
would say,
Okay. Well, we haven't put a payment plan in concrete. I'll mention it to Frank. We'll come out and look at, bring the engineers, and they'll make an assessment.
ask you this too. There's a law in Irondale about animals, which a dog you can put on a leash. Cats, you can't put on a leash. And I've got a poor neighbor. She's wonderful. And when her cat gets out, we got another one that's calling the police about a cat. Well, we got cats all over the place. I don't know who owns the other cat,
Mm-hmm.
but how are you gonna find somebody when a cat gets out? I mean, you can't put them on a leash. I mean, it's some kind of law here.
I mean, I guess, what is your question? That was more of a statement or comment than,
That needs to be changed to it.
okay. I mean, what are you saying need to be changed?
Being fined for having a cat that gets out of your house.
Oh, okay.
That's insane. You're going to
Huh?
court,
They fine people for having
No.
kids.
and you have to go to court for it.
Okay. Well, the only thing that I would say, I know at one of the council meetings, and I sponsored this resolution for Alabama spay and neuter, to be able to, at one time back in the day, we worked with them and they'll bring traps out and put it out there and may be able to do that. And
Fixed, it just gets out. You got
well,
all this-
I can't do anything about that then. That's a owner responsibility. Need to take care of that.
Mayor Stewart,
Yes.
speaking about animals, what ordinance does Irondale have about dogs being chained?
I think we have one that is against the law to tether. Is that it correct, April? Yes.
And who do we call? You know, we used to contract with animal control.
We still with them.
So we call the police, or who do we call to get them out?
I would say you can call the police, but don't call 911. Call the
No,
956-5900 for that kind of emergency. They can give you the phone number to call the Humane Society. Jason, we're still with Humane Society, and they can send somebody out to be able to deal with it.
Oh, so we need to call the Humane Society.
Yes.
And then they will, then say we live in Irondale, and they will send somebody else.
Yes. Is that correct, Jason?
Is it?
Officer will go with them to the scene, and if they determine that the animal is being abused, then they can take the animal and do a report.
It's not being abused, but it's chained 24/7.
Yeah, so make sure it's got shelter and water, things like that.
But it's okay that it's chained.
They still have to have shelter and
Oh,
water. They
okay.
can't be on a leash, but they have to be have shelter and water.
Okay, that's what I needed.
It's inhumane to us, it seems like, the animal lovers, but people can, as long as there's a house and there's water and food, you can have an
There
animal
seems to be, but it's
on a
chained.
chain. And
Oh, no.
I don't like that,
I don't either.
but Humane Society's gonna tell you that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless it, is
Okay.
eating, not eating, whatever.
Well,
Yeah.
this economy, for the interest rate and everything else, and we're gonna still, I mean, it's hard to count on car sales for revenue right about now.
It's kind of hard for me to tell that it's not when it generates the most revenue for the city. And the city currently has a projection of about $19,900,000 that's getting ready to come in. Even through COVID, people were still purchasing cars. People who purchase the cars in the city of Irondale, they're not your paycheck to paycheck people. These people are buying high-end cars. They're not worried about the economy and the gas and the insurance because they know that their salaries can support it.
A lot of people are giving their cars back, they're being repossessed left and right.
I can't tell it about the amount of revenue that's coming in, by that. So I can only go by what's coming into the city. And as you can see, our revenues is increasing annually. Somebody got to be doing something out there, right?
Well, I noticed that you said that the city relies heavily on sales and use tax.
55%.
So that means that it's very important that the citizens shop in Irondale and stay in Irondale, eat in Irondale. And so we are a very valuable part of Irondale because our taxes, not only do we pay property tax, but we provide a lot of sales and use tax, which is what 54% of revenue. So I just want to make sure I had that straight.
Yes, we want people to be able to spend their money in the city of Irondale. But I almost confess, too, with a population of 13,547 people, everybody that's going out there buying a luxury automobile don't live in Irondale. And everybody that shop in Irondale don't live in Irondale.
No, you don't see Maseratis running around Irondale.
We have here at the city, we have 180 employees. Guess how many stay in the city?
I'm sorry.
We have 180 employees. And this is for anybody. We have 180 employees. But think how many of those employees stay in the city.
Not many.
I mean, I just need you all to throw me out a number. How many? 70? Okay.
I'd say 25%, maybe.
Okay. The number is 10, and if you take me away, it's 9.
Okay. I knew it wasn't many.
Yeah, so it ain't a lot of, it ain't like everybody that work in Irondale, live in Irondale, eat in Irondale, sleep in Irondale, which if I can get us to leave with one thing, one of the things that I've learned since I've been in office and even before I got into office, now everything is global. Even when we are competing against companies that bring a company into the city, we're not competing against Leeds. We're not competing against the surrounding areas. We may be competing against somebody across the waters because we now live in a global society with a global economy. So we have to begin to expand our thinking and to begin to think on a global platform instead of a local platform.
But we still, we're still important to Irondale.
Everybody's important.
54%'s worth.
Each, like I said, there's not a person in Irondale that's not important. Matter of fact, we had this discussion at Bible study. There's not an employee in this city who's not important. All 180 of them are important, from me being the mayor to the person that comes in there and pick up the trash can. Because we all have been created by one person who loves all of us, and hopefully we can exhibit the same thing.
That's this, all these projects we're doing, are any of them over budget that we don't know about?
Well, let me ask you Before I answer you, I'm going to ask you to define over budget. And it came in at 8.6.
And then the library, is that still the same amount?
And it came in at 8.6. 10 million. That's what I said when I casted that vision out there. Both of them came in at 8.6, but I never hear anybody say anything about those two.
We didn't know. I didn't know till just now. I haven't seen it much anywhere.
Well, I'll say this. Well, Donna, one of the things I will give you credit for, out of 10 town hall meetings, for anybody wanted to know what was going on in the city, you were there. Now, I can't say that for everybody else who's, well, and that's why I went to 10 neighborhoods to share the information with you, but I can't make you come out to be able to get it. Well, you were there, Donna. I got it. You know, you and I, we broke bread, and you coming to meet with me, and we're gonna work through some stuff about the playground and all that. Which I'm not a hard person to work with. We just have to meet each other halfway, and whatever issues we have, we just have to, let them go.
But I mean, it's wonderful news. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But again, thank you all. Thank you. I hope that there's some information that you all have been able to glean from the presentation. Before I shut down for tonight, I want to thank Lee Allison. This was her first budget by herself. I didn't meet with department heads. She met with department heads. She put all the numbers together. She's about to word me to death about the numbers, but she did all of that stuff. And it wouldn't be right for me to sit here like I did do the presentation with the help of Emma and Josh, who gave me the training to be able to use the board without the clicker. So I like to include and give everybody credit for what they're doing. But again, like I said, want to thank Lee for the job that she's done. She's very conscientious about what's going on in the city. I think I only gave her one command during the whole time that she was working on the budget. In one department, I had to give them a ceiling. We're not going to talk about what department that is. It was the department at 24.75%, but I'm not calling any department names, but that was the only one we had to kind of rope in, a little bit to be able to do that. But probably within a couple of weeks, because I'm still working out the kinks and I'm still in beta testing. I mentioned to you all we'll have a new website called ClearGov. ClearGov is a website that has all of the city finances on it. It has the last 5 years of the city finances on it. You can go on there, play around with it, do whatever you want to be able to do with it. I'm going to try to have probably a training session to help people to know how to be able to navigate it. But it's probably a couple of weeks away from us being able to announce it and put it out there. When I leave out of here today, Lee's going to hit the button and the council's going to get everything for them to be able to vet, look at, decide when they want to have a work session, to be able to do anything. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm through. I'm out. And I'm going to let everybody else kind of figure out what they need to do. But that's the next step, is for council to review it and then for them to decide how they want the funds to be allocated. Thank you all for coming out tonight. May you have a safe drive to your destination. And as I close out on every first Sunday, not only do I love the city of Irondale, but I love each and every one of you all too. May you reach your destination safely tonight. And peace out.